alleged serial killer, and he's taken some steps to cover his tracks, and we have to uncover these victims and identify these victims. The resources that are being thrown at it, everything that we have.
Call it unprecedented?
I'd call it unprecedented type of investigation. I've seen large-scale investigations before with dozens and dozens of officers working on them. We've never seen anything quite like this with the number of crime scenes that we have.
You call this unprecedented. Could you give us a number exactly how many officers are involved in this?
From start to finish, hundreds.
Good evening. It's a homicide investigation, the likes of which our city has never seen before. I'm Adrian Gobriel. Today, Toronto Police homicide confirming that alleged serial killer Bruce McArthur has been charged with killing 3 more men for a total of 5, and police believe there could be more victims unearthed in the coming days. Now, I'm currently outside of a home here on Mallory Crescent in Leaside. This is one of 30 properties. Police are currently sifting through the soil looking for clues, and this is a pretty key location, a key address tonight. Police confirming they have located the dismembered remains of at least 3 unidentified individuals inside large planter pots. Now, of course, Bruce McArthur was a landscaper. He stored some of his tools here. More on that in a little bit, but first, what we're learning about the new victims from police.
On Thursday, January the 18th, Mr. McArthur was arrested by members of Project Prism. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in relation to Mr. Kinsman and Mr. Essen. Today, Mr. McArthur was brought back before the courts. Mr. McArthur has now been charged with 3 additional counts of first-degree murder. These new charges are in relation to the murders of Majid Kayhan, Saroush Marmoudi, and Dean Lissowick.
58-year-old Majid Kayhan was reported missing back in October of 2012 and was part of Project Houston, which was looking into the disappearance of 3 men from Toronto's Church Street village. However, 50-year-old Saroush Mahmoudi and 47-year-old Dean Lissowick do not fit the profiles of the other 3 victims. Lissowick, for example, used Toronto's shelter system and was known to frequent the Good Shepherd in years past. Back on January 21st, City News cameras were rolling when police removed a large planter from this Leaside home. Again, police say they have discovered dismembered body parts inside planters and told us today they have more than a dozen they're currently going through. We spoke with one neighbor today who's lived on the street for 25 years, who for several years he's watched McArthur come and go from this property, a property where McArthur would store his landscaping equipment.
Some days he wouldn't be there, but other days he'd be there 2-3 times, probably more. He dropped off flats, black flats of flowers. He also moved containers of the size and nature that are at issue right now. Yeah. He was always very businesslike. He didn't chat with anybody. He just went about his work and got it done. Having watched flower pots come and go over the years, it's quite surprising. It's kind of sad too. You know, I feel badly for the folks in that house because they had no idea what was going on, I'm sure, and I feel badly, of course, for the victims and their families. But it's really quite a surprise.
Toronto police were also seen bringing in jugs of fuel to the back of this property today to refill generators, which are helping them work through the night. One police source telling me today we should expect several more press conferences in the days to come. Again, police believe there are several more victims. Now, there are still multiple missing individuals from the Church and Wellesley village who are still very much part of this investigation, though today we heard for the first time that one of the victims actually used our shelter system. Ahead on City News, what we're learning about Dean Lissowick as I speak with an outreach worker who knew him. I'm Adrian Gobriel. Earlier on City News, we told you about the unprecedented homicide investigation currently underway in Toronto. Homicide detectives today confirming that alleged serial killer Bruce McArthur has now been charged with 3 additional murder charges for the killing of 3 additional men for a total of 5, and police believe there could be more victims unearthed. Now, I'm currently standing outside of this home here on Mallory Crescent in Leaside. This is a central part of the investigation tonight. Police have unearthed the dismembered remains of at least 3 different unidentified individuals from this location, and City News has learned more about one of the victims today. It was previously believed McArthur would pose as a Santa Claus during the holidays, may have only preyed on men in Toronto's Church Street Village, many of Arab or South Asian descent. But today, homicide alleging that this man, 47-year-old Dean Lissawick, is one of the new victims. Lissawick was never reported missing, and that's largely because he was believed to be homeless and at times used Toronto's shelter system. Today, I confirmed Lissawick used to frequent the Good Shepherd on Queen Street East. He was described by workers I spoke with as a nice man who stopped showing up at the Good Shepherd about 2 years ago. This individual who's used the Good Shepherd, Mr. Lissawick, actually wasn't announced as missing because he kind of slips through the cracks.
Right. He hasn't been here for a couple of years. That happens with homeless. They move to other cities, other locations, or they find themselves somewhere safe to stay, and we don't see them again. So in this case, that's probably what happened. He got a hand up somewhere and was able to stabilize his lifestyle, and then ended tragically.
Good Shepherd staff say it's impossible to keep track of who comes and goes on any given day. We spoke with other outreach agencies today. They say many on the streets don't even sleep at night because they fear for their lives.
The vast majority of the population of homeless people on the streets sleeping rough are older men. And the work that we do here is try and help men who are extremely vulnerable. They're easy targets is the way I tend to describe it. So it's not unusual for us to hear these kinds of stories. Obviously not to the degree that this alleged case potentially could be, but our men are often targeted and can often be attacked. They're older prey.
The Good Shepherd tells me that Toronto police have yet to show up at their front door to ask any questions, though City News has reason to believe that there are other men who use the shelters in our city who are homeless, who may have had contact with Bruce McArthur. It's a story we'll be sure to follow closely in the coming days.